Welcome to the Spearo Hangout, where we talk all things spearfishing, freediving and foraging. We're three guys from Devon in the UK who are excited to share some of the learnings from our spearfishing journey with you over the coming episodes. We bring in some special guests along the way to help spread some in-depth Spearo knowledge from some of the most experienced people in the scene.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Evening.
Long time no see.
Ben's back.
The lucky stranger returns.
Yeah, nice to see you guys.
Where you been?
Been down under. Been to Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast. It's been epic, actually. Had a good month off work. It wasn't all about spearfishing, although I did get out. But yeah, really nice to get away from it all for a while. But yeah, like I say, missed you guys. Missed the spearfishing back here. Sounds like it's been pretty awful weather though.
Yeah, man, not being very fruitful, and unfortunately, no, Anthony shot the first bass. Unfortunately,
hey, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Although we've not seen pictures of it, so I'm yet to believe it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I also heard rumors that you shot something else at the same time.
Well, it was a spiky thing.
A spiky thing.
It was a very spiky, very angry thing. Also known as a scorpion fish.
How did it taste?
I won't shoot one again.
Huh.
It tasted really nice, but not much meat on them. Kind of like a tiny monkfish.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So really the only meat on them was like it's kind of like either side of its spine, but its head is like 50% of its body.
Right.
So yeah, and also one of the most poisonous fish in the world, or the family of one of the most poisonous fish in the world. As I realized as I was trying to pull it off the spear, going, shit, why is these spiky things starting to hurt? But yeah, no, got a 47 centimeter bass. And it just came cruising in like by itself. I'd seen a couple of schools of them already, but yeah, no, it was good to see the bass coming in. But yeah, like you say, other than you going to Oz, the weather here has just been atrocious. It's just...
And also, I think we got to apologise to everyone that we haven't put an episode out recently. But I've been moving house. Ben's been away. Anthony is just Anthony. So. We do apologize, but we are back on it now, and
I do actually work hard, you cunt. I haven't just been off for 6 weeks, but yeah, it's been 6 weeks. We're sorry, and it won't happen again. Sorry, Daddy.
but yeah, man, I reckon it's going to start getting into full swing soon. I reckon as long as the weather clears up and we can get back in.
I think it's going to be on top of us before we know it. I think. Yeah.
Oh, it was quite nice when we went out, because I went out at the same time as Anthony. I found a nice. There's quite a few cutfish around. So I picked one of them, and a lovely big spider crab. So I think it's really coming into it now. The only thing is, I guess, May bloom.
Yeah, that's in already.
Rubbish.
Big globules of snot. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, no, we were saying sort of before we did the intro, or before we started that this time last year, I'd been in, and it was obviously my first 6 months, so I was frothing on it, but I'd been in probably 40 or 50 times at least already, doing scallops and fishing and stuff. And this year, I've been in 4 times.
We had a fair few points on the board, didn't we, last
year? Yeah, we did, yeah. I had some Facebook memories come up already, and I already had like bloody bass, pollock, spider crabs, all sorts.
The only thing that I'd love to know is whether I don't think the spear fishing makes much of a difference to the populations of fish. So I don't think that just because we haven't been able to get in because of the weather, that the fish are suddenly all going to be there because they haven't been shot by spearos. But I do wonder if, because of the viz and the way that the weather's been, whether things like the kelp growth are going to be later, or
it's going to be
other
different
things. Yeah.
We found that our local spot had changed quite a bit underneath the sea as well. It's been a different kind of winter where the sand had been sucked out of where it's normally like flat sand. It was just like all rocky. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what our other kind of local spots are like.
Yeah, it's amazing how much the terrain changes in a
Yeah,
year.
yeah, really interesting. But
Mm.
cool. So we've got an action-packed evening tonight. We've got quite a few people coming on, I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
well,
there's 80 of them.
It felt like it. We want to get an episode out for newbies this time of year. It's when people start thinking, oh, what the hell is spearfishing? How do I do it? How do I get into it? So I thought, why not? Let's just do an episode all about noobs, or for the noobs, shall I say. And we've got two guys who are very experienced, spearfishing coaches in their own rights. So get them on and they can answer the questions. So it's all about the noobs, this one.
Awesome. Let's get
Let's
into
do
it.
it. Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Welcome on.
Hey, tonight's going to be interesting. It's the most people we've ever had on the podcast, I think.
How many we got on tonight?
74.
So tonight's all about the noobs. So we got Tony Sykes and Sam Seeley as our experts, both spearfish instructors, and obviously they're going to be answering questions from two noobs that we have on. So,
Sweet.
So should we start with Claire? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, sure. So I'm fairly new to spearfishing. I have been doing it for about 2 years, I'd say, on and off. Had some challenges and some positives.
Nice.
Cool.
And
where are you from in the world, in the country?
Cornwall, obviously.
Cool.
The best.
oh, nice. Yeah.
That's a place to start and learn spearfishing. You get the viz and the fish and everything. The only thing you've got to put up with is Tony, but we'll get onto him in a minute. And then we've got Kai. Introduce yourself, buddy.
Yeah, I'm Kai. I live nowhere near the sea that's fishable with a spear gun. I started spearfishing last year, so July time probably, and mostly travel hundreds of miles to do it.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'd say so. Traveling every bloody weekend, aren't you?
Yeah, I try to be. Yeah.
Where do you spend most of your time, Kai?
Well, I live in Wales. I live in Cardiff, like I say, but most of my spearfishing is probably done in Cornwall. I would just said,
Good
just
job.
because if I'm traveling, it's usually better viz down in Cornwall.
Yeah. Certainly has been recently, anyway.
The West
Is that why you're joined multiple BSA clubs,
Yes, keep tabs on you all.
or you just like to waste your money?
No, well, it's not a lot of money, is it? To be fair, so you pay the BSA membership, and then £10, I think the Welsh club was, 20, I think, for Dorset, and 5 for Cornwall. So
It's not too bad, is it?
to get the viz reports, and the catch reports for that little money over a space of a year is, I think, it's good value.
Yeah, and you get obviously the access to all the social events then as well. And if you're traveling, you're around there on the weekend, that'd be good.
So
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
And we've had Tony on before. Sam's a little bit late, but he'll join us in a bit. And Tony's been on the podcast before. Everyone knows who Tony is. And obviously, Tony, I don't know if you want to give everyone a heads up of what you're doing this year.
What am I doing this year? I'm going to try and shoot some fish. Hopefully help some other people shoot some fish. And yeah, don't know really.
Yeah.
Just get out there and dive. Might see if I can do some other things, but
Oh,
I don't know if that's
someone-
been fully announced yet. So.
Didn't someone famous recently release a book of something? I don't know about.
That's Ed Sheeran. It was a documentary, mate. It's not a book.
Right. No, you've released a spearfishing book, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, I have. I've got it here. What is it? A Beginner's Guide to Spearfishing in Cornwall. It's bad when you have to look at the title, isn't it?
Nice.
Yeah,
And
it's
but
really
because of how
aimed at
new you are to
newbies.
spearfishing. I take it it's just a blank book that everybody can write in.
Yeah, that's literally it. So just blank line pages. You just write in everything you learn as you go.
Write your own
No,
story.
it's 151 pages. It's all written by me, and it's very much aimed at beginners, and it's very much aimed at Cornwall. So Cornwall is part of the UK. Some of the information in there is probably relevant to other places, but the book on the whole is aimed at getting people that have never spearfished, no idea what they're doing, into the water and around Cornwall in some of the best places to dive. And yeah, Get you out there
amazing.
shooting some fish. It's just sort of a stepping stone, really, to get you started.
Well, hopefully we can eke out some of that information, along with some help from Sam this evening, and maybe help Claire and Kai with a bit of info and little tips and insider knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. Tony, what was your kind of journey when you started? How long have you been going for? To say, for like 4 years?
Oh, it's been a while now. Yeah, three-ish, 3.5, something like that years.
Yeah.
But I dive a lot more than most people.
Pretty much every day, right?
Yeah, whenever I can, when the weather allows it. And I did a lot of courses and did a lot to sort of try and speed up the journey as much as I could. I've had weeks where I've been in 10 different dives in a week, and given there's only 7 days, it's pretty good going. But then over the winter this year, it's been a bit rough this year on the winter. The weather's not been the kindest, so not been in as much as I'd like this winter.
I was saying to Rich and Ben just before we came in that this time last year, I mean, I've only been spearfishing since September year before last, so what's that, 18 months? And this time last year, I'd already been in probably 40 or 50 times, and so far this year I've been in 3. Yeah,
it's been rough this year. I think I was in the same boat. I think I'd probably had 30, 40, maybe even 50 dives by this point, and maybe 10 this year so far. And a couple of those weren't very fun.
And Claire, Kai, you managed to get in at all this year?
Yeah, since I've been trying to get in more than I had before, because I don't think it's the number of years you've been diving for. I think it's the amount of times you get in, really.
Yeah.
There are loads of people saying, "Oh, I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years." I'm like, well, depends. So yeah, I've jumped in, I think 4 so far. So my aim is to get in as much as possible and stop thinking about it too much.
Yeah, just get in the water, enjoy it, and if you see fish, great. If you don't, look at other things.
Yeah, instead of sitting on staring at Windy and hoping for the best.
That is the thing when you've got those kind of apps, is you sort of look at them and you go, oh, it's not really that good this weekend. I'm going to pick and choose when I go out. When actually, when you're really frothing for it, you're like, I don't give a shit. Let's just go get in.
Look at the webcams, mate. Ignore the apps. Look at the webcams. If you're that desperate to get in, you can find somewhere that's doable. It might not be the best, but
I learned that the other weekend. I drove all the way. I'm based in Truro. I drove all the way to the other end of Cornwall to dive, and I realised that I'd looked at Windy and just looked at the swell, and I hadn't looked at the swell, and I ended up. It was just white water, really.
Oh.
So I drove back.
Kai, what about you? Been in lately or not?
Yeah, I went. So a few weeks ago, probably 4 weeks ago, maybe, I went down to Dorset. I went. Can't remember the name of the bay that I was in, but the visibility was absolutely appalling. So I didn't do very much. Last weekend, I think I was supposed to be going out the weekend just gone, but I got quite drunk and didn't drive down to Cornwall the next day. So that was a bit of I let myself down. But I went last weekend. Met Tony actually for the first time when he tried killing me somewhere. Then I met him the next day and he didn't.
That's a lie. If I was trying to kill you, you wouldn't be on the podcast now.
Yeah, well, I think you must have had some regrets about it and threw me your float line and said, "Grab that, Kai."
Towing you in. Think of it an educational experience. That's what we'll go with.
Did you go far out, or was it just choppy?
No, just currents around Cape Cornwall are quite strong.
Oh, right. Yeah, fair enough. Kick.
Yeah, it was good. It was a whole experience.
Nice. So let's get into the first one. We're talking about gear then. So Claire, what challenges did you have around gear when you first started? I mean, obviously, presumably the one that I'm going to pick out is because it's obviously the most obvious one, is that men have piscettes on their wetsuits. I guess that's obviously an issue. How do you deal with that?
Hang on. We didn't ask Claire if she identifies as a woman. Are you in the 2023s, Richard? You fucking Jesus.
I'm not.
Sorry, Claire. Do you identify as having a vagine?
Yeah, I have. I confirm the vagine is fully intact.
Cool. Sorry for that. Carry on.
Bloody hell! If there was a female version of the piscette, I would have it. How do I manager. I just stink of piss.
Yeah.
I don't have a
Well, so
cassette.
does Anthony, to be fair.
Yeah, but I do have a vagine too. So
Method you can use is what I like. What like there's a like before you get out, just flush.
Well,
one of the
that's-
tips that I use is I take a 5-litre container with really hot water before I go diving, so that it's sort of semi-warm by the time you get out. When you get out, just put some conditioner in that 5-litre jug and then use that as your rinse, and it helps slide all of the wee-wees out, but it also makes it smells kind of like pissy conditioner. But better than nothing. But I think there are a couple of people looking into it. I don't know whether I heard on the grapevine last year that I think Maxime Blondel, Frenchman, was looking into whether it was him or his other half looking into researching a shiwi type pissette. And I know there was a couple of other people on the grapevine, but one day maybe.
That would be the dream, I think. Like some sort of, I don't know, that initial warmth is such like comforting after a while. It was on the podcast. Someone said actually you get colder.
Yeah. Yeah. So with it, it's the initial warmth is really nice because it warms you up a little bit, but immediately as soon as it starts cooling down, all it is doing is sapping heat from your body, and it will do it from all over. So you've got that water layer that is allowing water in and out of the suit, and it's not good. But so with the wetsuit, and obviously we've gone into the weeing and stuff, how did you find it, or how did you know about what gear you needed when you first started?
So I originally started, so I played underwater rugby for a couple of years. And then I moved over to Cornwall, and I generally had an idea of what I needed, and I just went to Spearfishing UK shop, and purchased random bits. Unfortunately, as we all do, and unfortunately, at that time, like 2 years ago, there was no, like, the female wetsuits were pretty poor. So I've ended up with like a slightly ill-fitting wetsuit that I'm just waiting to for it to kind of end its life quite soon. And then I'll get, nowadays there's better wetsuits around for women,
Nice.
I think. So,
nice. So two questions on that. One, underwater rugby, how do you keep the ball underwater? It's full of air.
No, it's neutrally buoyant, so it sinks.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay.
So not underwater. So I've played water polo. That's different. That's above water. Underwater rugby is down, like below. Usually played in a diving pit, and it's like full contact sport.
Ooh, nice. And second question. So when you said you went to Spearfishing Resort, and that's when you got your wetsuit, did you also get the other gear then? Did you get things like weight belts and guns and floats and all that crap?
I had a weight. I knew about weighting because my one of my best friends is a free diver.
Cool.
I knew about weighting, so I learnt not precise weighting, but I just kind of went along with it. So I had a weight belt and some weights. I got a wetsuit. Gun wise was tricky. There's so many options, and it's just this like a world of words that I don't know how anyone's meant to know what they mean. So I had a lot of conversations with the guys at Spearfishing UK, and I ended up with the classic Rob Allen. And I love it. I still have it today. It's like, 2 years down the line, it's a little bit rusty, but it does the job. It's still like gets me some fish. So
nice.
Tony's showing off his newly painted Rob Allen. Tony, what would you say for a beginner would be a great gun for straight out the straight in the boat, shall we say? Beginner.
Well, I mean, I'll get it out there straight away. I'm sponsored by a gun manufacturer, so I'm probably a bit biased there. I definitely recommend the Freedivers Bulldog. It's a good gun. For the price, there's not many really in the market that compete. A lot of guns are more expensive. But really, like, taking away, apart from the get my sentence out. Apart from the fact that I'm sponsored, if you take that away, anything that's sort of from a decent, reliable brand, but you don't need to get top spec stuff. Like, if you're a beginner, there's no point going and buying a Mr. Carbon 2.0. It's 700 quid for a gun. It's just a lot of money. Just get something that's rugged, reliable, and going to do the job, really. Something, depending on where you are.
Yeah, I was going to say, what sort of lengths and stuff are we talking about? Single bands, double bands?
Yeah, it depends where you are. If you're like, I dive in Cornwall, obviously Clare is Cornwall based. And a lot of you guys are sort of southwest, Devon, some like kind of Dorset, that sort of area. So Cornwall gets really good viz. I love my 90 down here, and I've had dives where my 90 wasn't really long enough. We've had such clear viz that I could have done with a bigger gun. But then slightly further east, you're looking 75, 80. And I started with an 80 centimeter gun, just a basic single 16 mil band. I think it was a 6.75 millimeter spear. Yeah, 80 centimeter. It didn't even have a rail on it. And that got me going, no problem. I shot mackerel with that gun, even without the rail. So maybe that was more luck than good management. But you don't need sort of all the bells and whistles when you're starting out. You just want something that you can rely on. And there's a number of good brands out there. I know Sam, he's having connection issues at the minute, but if he manages to get on, he's sponsored by Spear Dock, isn't he? So he uses a lot of Tarpon and C4 gear.
I can vouch for Tarpon stuff. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, their stuff's brilliant. Obviously, like Claire said, you've got Rob Allen. They've got a proven track record of having some of the best durability out there with spear guns. They're sort of like the AK-47 of spear guns, really. They just don't break. But then there's other brands too. You got Pathos. Just trying to think. Cressy have got a few. Just do your homework on it. YouTube is a fantastic thing these days. You can get reviews for just about anything.
But essentially, it's not all about the price, though, is it? I mean, starting off as a newbie.
No, yeah, definitely not. Don't waste money on things that aren't going to benefit you. You're not going to shoot more fish because you've got a 700-pound spear gun versus a 150-pound spear gun. If you can't get close to the fish, it doesn't make a difference how good your gun is.
One of the things that I think somebody said in a previous podcast was spearfishing gear catches more spearfishers than it does fish.
Yeah, definitely. It's like lure angling, isn't it? Lure fishing. It's exactly the same. The lure packaging is all designed to catch the angler, not the fish.
The only thing I would say on guns that I think is probably one of the biggest pieces of information that I never really got, and I kind of had to teach myself quite quickly, and I probably think the only way that you could do it was actually one of the first things you need to do when you get a spear gun. Obviously, without the bands, you can use the bands, but don't load the gun. But get used to loading and rigging your gun, because lining that thing up once you've fired it the first time and you forgot how that line goes around that gun, you will be there for an hour trying to figure out that jigsaw. So
closed muzzle can help with that. Closed muzzle takes away some of the wrapping that you've got to do at the muzzle end of the gun.
So I just always think with guns, like simple is the best. What have I got? Is it a Comanche? No. What's that? What's the red 75 that I've got? Cressy, Comanche, Apache, something like that. I don't know. 75, really simple thing, but its line goes over the top of the front of the spear, and then it's a single wrap back, but there's two lines, and then it's fixed to the front of the spear. But if you look at that and you don't know how to load it, it's like you may as well be talking Chinese.
I spent all of last summer with my gun rigged wrong, actually. It wasn't until November when I went on a course with Sam that he showed me how to do it properly. I didn't have the mono over the front of the spear, so it was just
flopping around.
Oh, it's flopping around. Oh, right.
Yeah, exactly.
What gun did you get, Kai, when you started off?
I think it's 90, it might be 95, but it's Salvamar Wild Carbo, is it? It came as part of a package of wetsuit and knife and stringer and all that sort of stuff I got when I started.
When I first started off spearfishing, like God knows long ago, but I did the same thing. I didn't realise they had to go over the actual spear and loop back around. So I had the same issue as you until I went on the Frenchman's course, and then I realised very straight away that I was being an umpty. We've got Damon on as well, Ben's new diving partner / boyfriend. That's we've all been eagerly waiting to meet. How you doing,
Hi,
Damon?
Damon.
Hi, boys.
Hey, buddy. All right.
How's it going?
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
we're
good. Thank
good,
you.
thanks.
Do you want to give yourself a little bit of an introduction, Damon?
Yeah, so I'm Sidmouth based, just like yourself, Ben. I took up spearfishing completely on a whim about 10, 12 years ago. Went on a holiday to France. They were selling spear guns, thought it was pretty cool. Bought, I think it was a 50. Didn't use it in France, but used it in England. And, you know, when you're in your sort of, I don't know what I've been, early, mid-20s, I suppose, just going out and shooting stuff and bringing it back and then asking people what it was, like so naively going at it, which obviously I'm dead against now, but like no one else got into it, and it was pretty obvious it wasn't the safest thing to do on your own, so it just sort of died a death really. And then when I joined a couple of Facebook groups that it was a bit of a thing now, it just seemed right to sort of jump both feet into it and give it a go really.
And when did you restart, Damon? It was fairly recently, wasn't it?
I went down to Start Point to look at gear, which ended with about 600 quid and me coming away pretty much fully laden.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Barky and Joe can do that.
I don't know, would have been in what, February? Something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't long ago. I think what I've been out now, probably maybe 6-7 times, something like that.
Good effort.
Pretty good given the weather.
Steep, steep learning curve.
And you went back to Start Point after the first time, didn't you? And spent another few hundred quid.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Bought a better float. I bought like a torpedo float to start with because they said that would be fine. And then I think it was the first dive I did with you, and you had your big
the bow shot.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And then I was like, oh man, I got to get one of those. So yeah, straight back down, get some more stuff.
But you couldn't be diving with the luckiest person if you try. Like Ben's just seems to luck out on fish, finding stuff, God knows what else.
Not always.
So,
What do you mean not always?
Yeah, not with me. I must be unlucky then.
Always.
Always. I'll be swimming over a patch, like with my eyes absolutely wide open, like just flat terrain, not seeing a thing. Ben's 10 meters behind me, comes up with the biggest fucking brown crab you've ever seen. I'm like, how?
I'd just like to add there, I've seen you swimming over ground with your eyes wide open, and I shot like 7 flounder there, and you were still going, where are they?
No one asked your opinion. Fuck off. I'll kick you for the BSA.
So, Damon, what's your hardest challenge so far in spearfishing? Then? If you could pick one, what would it be?
Oh, if I could pick one challenge, I mean, it's probably all of it. I've always been a bit of a like sort of water baby, you know, sort of thrown in at the deep end as a kid, and I've always loved water and snorkeling and stuff. So I feel at home in the water. I think the biggest learning curve for me has been like breath hold and stuff. Yeah. You know, going down and then panicking because you're under the water and you've got to come back up to sort of, I think it's only really on the last dive that I went out with Ben and sort of said about more relaxing and taking your time and trying to get to the bottom and, you know, get hold of some weed, or, you know, tuck your hand under a rock or something to hold you down, and your breath hold lasts sort of 3 times as long. But yeah, going back to what Ant said before with the whole lining your gun back up, the first time I fired it, I did not take any notice on how it was lined, just fired it, and then it was bobbing in the water for about 20 minutes trying to work out how it all goes back together again.
Yeah. Once you've done it like 3 or 4 times, and it's the same old adage as riding a bike. Once you've done it enough times, I can do it with my eyes shut in the pitch black. But
in the pitch black, you're not supposed to spear at night, are you?
No. I'm more.
It's in his bedroom.
That's what
I'm target practice. But yeah,
whatever gets you going.
I was out of the water probably from at the end of last year, and as I say, I've only been in 3 times, and I shot my first bass the other day. But after I shot it, I was like, shit, I can't remember how this goes. But then as soon as you do it once, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
absolutely fine. But no, cool.
Tony, so how can a newbie then like learn to relax and increase their breath holds? What can we do if we're on land and we can't get in weather shit? What sort of stuff do you recommend?
Oh, on land, you're asking the wrong person there. I don't do any dry training really. I know a few guys. Well, that doesn't really count as training, does it? That's a bad habit. I'm sat here looking at one now that I want to go for a spin.
I know, I'm looking at one.
I know quite a few guys rate apnea walking. I know Ryan Edwards, I speak to him a lot. He rates apnea walking and cardio exercise. Matt Newman, again, rates apnea walks, apnea skipping. That's all stuff, like I said, I don't do dry training, so I don't know too much about it. I'm fortunate enough to get in the water often enough that I don't really feel the need to do the dry stuff. But when it comes to holding your breath, when it comes to holding your breath in the water, everything is small increments. Take your time and make the gains an inch at a time. Don't try and rush it. It doesn't matter how deep a diver you are or how long your breath hold is. Don't try and double it in a day. Just take your time with everything. Enjoy it is the main thing. If you start having bad experiences and panicking underwater, then that's always going to be in the back of your mind. Whether you think it is or not, it will be there in the back of your mind, which will subconsciously cause you stress, which will in turn lead to a slightly increased heart rate compared to what you might have had, and then reduce your dive times. So get as relaxed as you can. Don't rush. Everybody sort of goes by the golden rule of 2 to 3 times your dive time on the surface between dives. But I mean, I know for me, coming back after a long winter out of the water, some of my longer dives, I was doing 4 times my dive time, 5 times my dive time, because I just didn't feel like I'd caught my breath back yet. And go at your own pace. It's not a competition. Just take your time, relax with it, enjoy it. Don't hyperventilate. Just breathe calmly and get yourself into that semi-meditative state and go slowly. Don't rush. The slower you swim down to the bottom, the longer you're going to be able to stay there.
Yeah.
The other thing that I know we've talked about on this podcast before, the Wim Hof method. Damon, you've been doing that for a little while now, right? And I did take note of how long you were staying underwater. I was a little bit worried, to be honest, this last time you went out, because previously you had, I don't know what it was, maybe doing 20-30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I was looking for you, and then you just disappeared for like over a minute. And you obviously kind of, you're able to do some quite decent breath holds. Do you reckon that's down to the Wim Hof stuff you've been doing?
I don't know if I'd say it's down to, but I definitely feel like it's helped. So I've done the Wim Hof stuff for probably about a year, maybe just under a year. So I've used it for all sorts of things. Like I've suffered with mental health in the past, and like breath work and stuff always works with me. So, trying to disconnect yourself from all of the stuff that's going on. But with the Wim Hof thing, I really rated it, but after doing a bit more research, I'm torn. I will still do it, but it basically is hyperventilating, and you're letting all your air out, and then you're sort of holding with nothing, no air at all, which is kind of the opposite of what we do. You're not supposed to hyperventilate, and you hold your breath. But I've done it hand in hand with an apnea app as well, which works the opposite way around. And I think the Wim Hof thing works really well for me because it calms me. It probably lowers my heart rate and everything. And then the apnea training teaches you how to hold your breath safely. So, know your limits. I certainly never force in the water, and I never really force dry training as well, but I know how far I can go, and I'm conscious of where my limits are. But I would say my dry breath hold about 6 months ago was probably somewhere between 2.5 and 3 minutes, whereas now it's 4 minutes. So it definitely has got better. I think training dry would only help you in the water as well. I'm
and
sure.
especially if you can't get in the water regularly, which is kind of what we're all going through right now. I think we're all itching to get in, hopefully this weekend.
One of the things that I sort of consistently hear about Wim Hof and those that use it or do it as well as freediving or spearfishing is it's used as more of a calming, like you were saying, Damon, a calming exercise, but also as a really good lung stretcher. So do it way before you're doing any form of freediving, spearfishing, and obviously don't do it while you're in the water or anywhere dangerous at all. It's stupid. You will die. But when, say, somebody's driving you down, your passenger, or you've got a couple of hours before you get in the water, doing a Wim Hof before then really does stretch your diaphragm and stretch your lungs, and will immediately increase your breath hold while you're out there, because your lungs, I can't remember what they're called, the alveoli, or is that alveoli? I can't remember. But yeah, it will just stretch your lungs, but obviously don't do it in the water.
Yeah, definitely not.
Kai, what's your biggest challenge then since you started spearfishing?
Finding viz it was for a while until I discovered how good Cornwall was, and I don't really know. What
about like resources and stuff? Like, did you learn to pick up different resources? So we were just talking about like webcams and stuff like that. What other so there's loads of different apps that can help you see the wind situation, look at webcams. We said this before in the podcast, but Snapchat's actually a really good one as well. Did you pick up stuff like that?
No, I don't really use the webcams, to be honest with you. I just sort of look at the direction that the wind has been sort of for the last week or so, and then just either go for it or don't really. My biggest challenge has been my breath hold. It's still pretty bad now. It improved markedly when I stopped smoking, but seem to have hit a barrier. That said, I am very unfit. I do absolutely zero exercise other than when I go diving. Rich, I'm a truck driver, so I'm sat on my butt all day, 5 days a week. Don't really do anything other than the weekends. So if I was fitter, then I'd probably be down underwater a bit longer. But it does improve. I went to Cornwall last year for a week. I slept in my car, just going to different places, and over that week it improved just in that time. So
yeah, and I think it's not all about like breath holds and time underwater, because Tony, didn't one of the spearfishing UK lads shoot a 42-pound monkfish in like 4 meters of water?
Yeah, 42.9 pound in 4 meters just off the beach.
Yeah, so
you don't have to hold your breath for long to shoot a fish.
Yeah.
You've either got to get lucky, be in the right place at the right time, or you just get good at hunting the shallow ground that you can hunt. There's plenty of fish in shallow.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so you don't need to be diving deep. If there's newbies out there who are struggling like everyone is with their breath holds, I'd say getting in a string weed and shooting loads of fish. I mean, I've been out with Tony and we've been in like less than bloody 4 meters of water just in the string weed shooting fish out of the string weed.
Yeah, but that was an aquarium.
Yeah, don't tell him.
Weymouth Aquarium.
I'll get banned from Newquay Aquarium.
You're banned from Newquay and Plymouth now. Bloody Tony.
No, one of my my biggest shore dive bass was in 3 foot of water.
Yeah. It always seems to be the way. Claire, what was your biggest challenge when you started out?
Trying to be calm. I'm like, because of underwater rugby, I want to get everywhere at once.
Yeah.
So I want to, and I have this in my brain. I'm like, oh, there's a lobster, there's a fish, so I'm just like scattergun, just like manic. So I have to reminding myself to just bloody slow down.
Yeah.
And Claire, going back into the sort of the what did you find difficult? How did you get into spearfishing or how did you find it get into spearfishing as a woman? Is it as closed as I feel it is as a man? Or I don't know if I'm explaining that clearly.
I found it really, really difficult. I think I'm really lucky that I think you all know that there's a Facebook group that can be hit and miss with advice and like incorporating people and anything in that kind of aspect. And I felt a bit scared. And then So I just kind of kept myself to myself. I did my own thing, and then recently, the Oyster Lady, I bumped into Oyster Lady, and she met me and introduced me to Tony, and I went for a dive with Tony. Not that he would probably remember. And that made me.
I definitely remember that.
I suddenly thought that actually not everyone in the spearfishing world is as opinionated and probably not friendly. Like people are encouraging of other people, and then I do a lot of foraging. So through my foraging like Instagram, I ended up bumping into your podcast, and since then I feel more kind of included. But even then, it's very hard to find female spearos.
I'm going to have to trade you some dive spots for some foraging spots, because I've seen some of the stuff you forage and it's amazing.
Anytime. But yeah, it's hard, and I think the female Spiro side they working in the UK are working harder to kind of grow themselves. But yeah, initially I just get my head down. My rule is if you keep your head down, no one will know you're there.
Well,
I
I think it's still kind of socially very much a growing sport. I think it's been quite late to the social media realm, from especially even from sort of my point of view, and I've only been doing it 18 months. But I think that it's coming on leaps and bounds, and I think the more inclusive, I know which groups on Facebook you're talking about, and yeah, there seems to be a lot of the, I don't want to say the old school Spiros, but a few Spiros that think that they've been around forever, that it's like, well, if you don't know it, then you're not part of the group kind of thing. And it's just, like you say, non-inclusive and kind of bullying. But no, that's why Rich made the podcast, so that we can just sit on here and chat shit and try and bring as many people into this bloody fantastic sport as possible.
Just so we can have some fun.
I must be in different groups. I was actually saying to Tony a couple of weeks ago when I met him, I feel fortunate, and it's not just me. Anybody could be in a position where to be able to speak to people. Like I'm bold as brass anyway. I'll just ask what I've got to ask, sort of thing. I'm not shy about it. But so Sam, Tony, you, Rich, Ben, I don't really know. Anthony, definitely. If I wanted to know something about something, or needed some information, I'd ask, or in a group. If there were a few groups that are good, the BSA groups, obviously, sort of safe space to ask whatever you like. And those that there's they're good places to ask questions. But if you don't know how to get into it, I think the easiest way is just find somebody you're comfortable speaking to and ask.
Yeah, it says a lot for the BSA, because obviously every time Newbies. Anthony's shaking his head because I'm plugging the BSA again.
No. I was shaking my head because Tony's showing his fucking book.
Every time
book.
every time a newbie asks me a question, I just sort of say the best thing you could do really is to join one of the clubs in the BSA, because I don't know about any of you, but I mean, yeah, you join the club, and then even to this day, I'll ask questions, and if I've got anything that I'm wondering about, and there's always people. I mean, my club's got the current champ in it, for example, so who better to ask than that? Some guys in my club have been diving for 50 odd years, so they've definitely come past the things I want to know. So yeah, it's BSA is great for that, and it's a safe space, as you just said, Kai. You know that the information you're getting is trustworthy information, shall we say? Not that this podcast is. I mean, me and Ben Andy just talk shit for days. But yeah, I mean, yeah, in terms of like the ladies and spearfishing, it's definitely something that I think we're trying to. Everyone is trying to push harder this year, not just us, but everybody is trying to push harder. And it'd be great to get more diverse divers in the water.
The only thing that I would make a comment on that I have heard since I've been in the spearfishing scene in the community, and obviously the want and the need and the drive to try and get the women into the sport, more women into the sport. The only thing that I don't like is I've heard a couple of things about like, oh well, we need to have a ladies only group. I'm like, no, No, we need we need the women in our group to bring their own sort of views and thoughts, and because who knows? I mean, the spearfishing has been predominantly a male sport. Suddenly, you could start getting. There's a few in the world already, but a good few UK-based female spearers that see things from a slightly different point of view or a slightly different angle, and bring in that wealth of knowledge as well. I just think that we should all just be inclusive.
I think it starts at roots as well, to be honest, Andy, because I've got 3 daughters. My oldest isn't really interested. Molly, my youngest, she'll stick on a mask and she'll just go swimming around, when it's warm or even when it's cold, apparently.
Oh,
And,
nice.
She'll go looking for life. And Amelia has expressed an interest this year of getting a wetsuit and snorkel of her own and trying it out. So
Amazing.
if you, it's a bit like a drug, right? Hook them when they're young and they got it for life, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Good analogy there.
Yeah,
So going on to courses. Starting with Claire, have you done any courses?
No, not yet.
You're looking at doing courses?
Yes, but I don't know what course to do, because to be fair, I'm probably going to a good friend of mine as a free diving company, and I'll go and do some diving with Blue Embrace and try and get my ADA to start off with and do some one. But there's so much, like, who to pick? Who do I pick? Do I pick Frenchman because he's got like the most experience, and like he's got like Sam and Tony? Do I pick David Miller because he can dive to 100 meters? Who do I like? There's too much option, and I just don't spend my money on.
I think the best advice for that is speak to them all and pick the one that you like, because that's going to make a big difference. They're all capable instructors. They've all got their strengths and things like that. But pick the one that you like and that you get on best with, and you're going to have the best time. It's honestly the best thing you can do.
I was going to say
all
similar.
The instructors are qualified.
One of the other things I was going to say is try and figure out what area it is that you feel that you need to improve. If it is the breath hold, the calming, the being safe in the water, the waiting in the water, then all of that kind of stuff, all freediving. That's all the freediving aspect of spearfishing. If it's a case of you need to learn how to hunt and you need to learn more about the spearfishing aspect, then go for a spearfishing course, which the Frenchman started to do specific courses for spearfishing. Again, like you were saying earlier on, Claire, you got the experience in the foraging. If you wanted to more target the crustaceans, the lobster, then I know that Sam and the Frenchman are doing a foraging course, an underwater foraging course. So it's really it's what is it that you want to better, and then, like Tony says, just message them all, see who's the nicest. They're all really, really nice, but who you get on with, who's closest, and just go for it.
I don't think you can go too far wrong. I've not spoken to anybody who said, I went on this course and it was rubbish. Like, everybody you speak to, whoever they've gone to, has had a really good time. We've got a list of courses on the BSA website as well, haven't we? So if you're struggling to find someone, drop by the BSA website.
Is this a good time to plug my book, where I've got a page of courses as well?
You can add that in there as well, Tony. I don't suppose it'll be the last time.
Well, talking of courses,
I've got a timer every 10 minutes. I'll just plug the book.
Okay,
Cool.
We mute him? I don't know.
Just mute him. Anytime it says book, he gets a 5-minute timer. Right, and sorry, talking about courses, after a bit of technological errors, we've now got Sam Seeley. Hello, how are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, there it is.
Welcome on, buddy. How are you?
Yes, bonjour.
French internet. That's the problem.
Oh, you're in France?
Yeah.
Oh, bonjour.
Yeah. So
that's about it.
Sam, you dropped in. You dropped in at the perfect time, there, mate. We're just literally talking about courses. And Claire was saying, how does she know who to choose to do what course? Because there's so many options.
Yeah.
What would you recommend?
Find out what you want out of it first, I suppose. That's the that's the main thing. Find out what you want to get from it. I think I just briefly caught what Anthony was saying at the end.
Yeah.
Whether you want it to be your diving or something like that, then obviously you'd want to go free dive specific. Well, obviously with Max, a Frenchman as well, you know, you can tailor them courses as well. He does the one-to-ones and stuff like that. So if there is a certain aspect that you want to, even if it's a type of species or something like that, you can then obviously try to hunt for that species, and Max will obviously guide you and help with that. But yeah, I suppose it would probably depend what you're after, what you're looking for. There's many out there. Obviously, you've got those with David Mellor and stuff, Matt Hill and everything like that. So there's plenty out there to obviously choose from. I suppose area is a massive one as well. Depends whereabouts you are in the UK and stuff. So that's another big one. But yeah, just obviously what you're trying to target and get out of it.
Who you resonate the best with, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, you know, there's great reviews out there and everything like that. Obviously, we got the lobster courses and stuff. That obviously we're more foraging and stuff. It's been mainly lobsters because it's been shore based. Through the summer, we are going to be able to offer that by boat as well. So we're going to be doing it from the boat as well, taking groups out. So we'll be able to hit a few more different species as well, especially in the summer and stuff like that. Obviously, we have access to scallops, a lot more different whole hunt in different areas, a lot more different species as well. So, you know, it's a different variety. It's not just about spearfishing as well. You know, that's the thing. I mean, you got spearfishing, free diving. Everyone says they're the same, but they're not. They're two totally different things. Do they coincide with each other? Obviously, of course. You know, you still got to be able to free dive to a degree, to spearfish, etc. But two totally different things. Foraging's another different thing again. So yeah, you got loads of different aspects of what you want out of your journey, and basically go from there.
The other thing to think about is some of them come with an actual qualification that you can use to do things. So if you think about the freediving courses, for example, there's a number of different ones like RAID, ADA, is it Molchanov's? I don't know how you say that.
Yeah.
So there's a number of like different courses, and they will like kind of open some doors for you. So for example, I was in Australia and I wanted to go diving on a boat. It wasn't a spearfishing thing. It was a free diving thing, but I couldn't do that because I didn't have the qualification. So it might also be worth thinking about, you know, are you going to be able to do the stuff that you want to in the future? Maybe you want to book a charter with the Frenchman spearfishing. You can't do that until you've been on one of his courses. So there's certain requirements for certain things. And if you can imagine yourself being like enjoying the free diving as much or more than the spearfishing, then maybe like the free diving and getting an actual qualification, you know, sooner rather than later would be a good thing. I wish I'd done it, you know, sooner, but hopefully
I think stemming back to the sort of the title of this podcast and the newbie side, one of the things that I would say is it doesn't matter what stage you're in spearfishing. If you haven't done a course, at least get on a free diving course. And the reason I say that is because of the safety side. You know, like Sam was saying a second ago, spearfishing and free diving go hand in hand. You have to be able to free dive to be able to spearfish. You can't spearfish without being able to free dive. But with free diving, that gives you not only the lessons on the weighting and everything that I was saying earlier on, the being able to dive, but also the safety on what to look for in not only you, but your buddy and how to rescue them. Because obviously, as BSA members, we should all really be diving in at least pairs and buddy diving one up, one down. So getting on a free dive course teaches you how to do rescues, teaches you how to do things like while I've been spearfishing, I've had my mask torn off by some kelp down at sort of 10, 11 meters. It was completely by accident, but I knew that I was fine and I didn't panic because I'd already, through my freediving course, been put through that at 15 meters and 20 meters. But also I knew that the people that were spearing with me were also qualified and could rescue me if shit went south. So yeah.
I'll just drag you up by your hair, mate.
Please do. You do that all the time anyway.
Carl, you've been on a course. I know you have. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, last November I went on Sam's course, the lobster course. It's the only one that I've attended, and it was like Sam says, it wasn't geared towards this is how you dive. The safety, we did go through basic safety, but it was more like Sam says, specific to what was on offer, which was a foraging course.
And why did you choose that one specifically?
I wanted to catch lobsters. I wasn't sure how to do it. And Sam showed me the way.
Nice. And were you going to do any more? Like, are you going to do any other courses?
I haven't got any plans to. No, they're it's got to be said. In fairness, they're not cheap things to do.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. And that's a barrier to entry, obviously, for a lot of people. Like, and we've said, I mean, obviously, if you can afford the course, definitely do a course. But at the same time, like, I think, as Anthony has said, diving with pairs, you know, going out with experienced people, and that's like, you know, that's if you can't do a course, try and get out with someone experienced.
Gotcha.
You know, and they know what they're doing, and they can show you what to do. Not always the easiest thing to do. What's the best way of finding a buddy, Sam? How do people go about finding a buddy if they're brand new to the sport?
ask Tony.
I'd probably say, you know, the clubs are great. Obviously Facebook's also very good, but there's a lot of bad information on Facebook, should we say, and it's quite, if you find yourself a good club, the clubs tend to be, you know, that people have paid to be in a club. They're you know, there's loads of experience between the clubs. I know that Rich, obviously the Dorset one as well, you said to me before that you did a thing where basically you take newbies out. Is it the experienced ones take newbies out and stuff?
Yeah, that's it. Well, we all try and do our bit anyway in the club.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's you know, and obviously they're local to your local area. So I know that there's a few more popping up now. Kai's obviously involved with the Welsh one that's just started. So you got X Club, you got London, you got Cornwall. So if you can find one that's close to you, people locally in your area, you can all go meet up and whatever. Obviously the dive meets to meet people and then find partners and whatever, and you basically go from there basically. I've been fortunate enough that with Ben, I've met him. Some New Zealander basically went, oh, there's Viz. We met Ben. Since then, I've been diving with him, and he's the only person I really sort of dive with consistently and regularly all the time. So I was quite fortunate finding someone that we just clicked quite quickly, and was able to have a good schedule to be able to dive together at the same times as well. But yeah, just clubs I'd probably say is the best one to try and find a buddy to be able to go and dive with, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, good info.
I've got a course with David Mellor in about 3 or 4 weeks' time.
Nice.
I'm doing my AIDA 2 with him up at Vobster, which I'm looking forward to.
Oh, it's cold in Vobster.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, I don't mind the cold as long as it's not for very long. It's fine.
What made you pick that, Damon?
Do you know, I can't really remember. I think there might have been something that popped up on a free dive thing on Facebook. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I was just thinking when you were saying, like, who do you choose? And I just messaged him, and he called me. He was in the Philippines, I think, and he called me and we had a chat, and I just sort of gelled with him straight away. And I thought, yeah, okay, this is going to be okay. But I think with regards to courses, I'm like a bit of an advocate of always learning, you know, always do stuff and learn whatever it is, whether it be a skill. So I'm like a tradesman, I'm a plumber by trade, but I've learned all different things for years, and I just think I'm a bit like a sponge with things like that. My missus always has a go at me because I just pick up hobbies like they're going out of fashion, but the good ones stay, the other ones sort of drop. But yeah, no, I'm keen for do this AIDA course. I've been in with Max a couple of times in the pool in Exeter, and you were saying about like rescuing and stuff. We did a really good session a couple of weeks ago about rescuing like shallow water blackouts and stuff, which was awesome. Like so much that I wouldn't have known before, just such simple things that is really important. But yeah, I'm keen for doing as much as I can just to soak up as much knowledge, whether it be from people or from courses or anything really.
And
The more- the
how
more
did
the
you
better.
meet up with Ben? Like, that's a good intro to what we're talking about. You know, how did that happen?
Well, I've sort of known of Ben for years. I think you were a school year above me, and you've probably got I don't know, similar friends. Maybe, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I think it's probably just because your old man is the manager at Bradford, isn't he?
Yeah. That's
So
right. Yeah.
so I sort of like knew who he was. But do you know what? I can't actually remember how we.
No, I was just scrolling through our WhatsApp messages, mate. I can't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it all came about, but it's obviously
Fair enough.
fate, and it's supposed to
No,
happen.
but we met up for like a torbay dive, didn't we first? It was you and some other guy, and I think it's really important for the more experienced people. I don't really know if I count, although I'm getting closer, right?
More experience than me.
Yeah, well, just about. Yeah, I think it's really important for those with a few years of experience in the belt, just to to go through like showing someone how to do stuff again, because it made me think about what I'm doing as well. It wasn't like just a purely kind of like, oh, this is what you do. It's like oh yeah, like let's think about that, because you were having some problems with your mask as well, weren't you? And it made me think about, well, what did I do like with my mask? Like, how did I make sure it didn't fog up? Like, what was the like positioning on my face? And it just makes you a bit more reflective. So I think it's a really good thing for experienced people to do, for sure.
Tony, how do you taking more newbies out than anyone I know?
Yeah.
What's your advice for people?
Only because he's trying to steal their spots.
Yeah. What's your advice for people approaching people on Facebook, or like just asking people that are well known, for example?
Oh, Facebook's a cesspool, isn't it? No, just send them a message. You're soon going to figure out who's helpful, who's not. Most people are pretty approachable, especially for newbies. Most people are willing to help. There's always going to be people out there that are a bit full of crap, but you soon figure those people out. So
yeah,
I won't get into the ones I've figured out, but there are a few.
And just to move on to the next subject. Sorry, Claire, earlier on you said about the oyster lady. You know her anyway, don't you?
I do know her, but I think on the foraging ground, as in foraging on land, I'm all right.
Well, we need to get you foraging in the water, so we need to put you in touch with Katie and Sam.
Oh, Sam, like I'm fangirling over Sam. Don't worry.
Oh, he's growing a cute little beard
blushing
as well.
Already.
Oh, bless him.
It's the hunting and spearfishing is my kind of bag. I would say I'm all right. Like, just being more confident in the water, I think, and like getting more. I think the next thing was like species, and I think confident about species. I don't know how I can tell the bass and pollock and all of that, but the other day I saw a fish and I was like, what the hell is that? I'm like, I'm not going to shoot it. I'm not sure what it is. I can't take a photo of it.
So one of the best things for that is either things like local aquariums, going, and because I know that the Plymouth Aquarium taught me more about fish, I think, than anything I've ever learned through spearfishing. And it's because I went down there with the kids at the end of last winter, and they give you a full year's free pass. So like every weekend that we have the kids and it's raining, it's like, right, we're going to Plymouth, we're going to the aquarium. So I now know all the fish by first name. But otherwise, just a couple of books. I've got a couple of really good books that they've got all the different type of species. And I shot a fish the other day, had no idea what it was. But I had an idea of what sort of family it was in. And it ended up being a scorpion fish. And it was like, oh yeah, only one of the most poisonous fish in the sea. But I did see its barbs before I started trying to take it off the spear. But books, YouTubes, I think Daniel Mann it's either Daniel Mann or JPK.
There's two really good ones. I can't remember. It's definitely Daniel Mann. I think there's another one as well that was out like this year or last year. It does a full run through like all 20 species or something like that.
Yeah, I've got a bone to pick with Daniel Mann.
Hasn't it been longer than 10 minutes? Does your book have it in it, Tony?
It does, actually. I'm just trying to find it.
Well, I've got
Daniel Mann's got a video. I've actually got it mentioned in the book. It's called "What's That Fish?" Target Species ID for UK, France, and Northern Europe spearfishing.
Awesome.
And it's a really good video. He goes into a lot of detail over just about everything you're likely to see. I think there's one or two species that you do stand an outside chance in hella seeing that are not mentioned, but pretty much everything you're ever going to see in the water is mentioned.
It's a cracking
in that
video. And I guess
Yeah.
the most important thing is he's showing you footage from underneath the water. Whereas if you get a
Yeah.
book or some kind of other, you look at sea angling or whatever, tends to be fish out of the water, which is not that helpful because they change
and
color,
he's
they
even
change
got
shape.
the what is it, the interjugular interspace of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thick-lip mullet. I think that's even in this.
I've got a bone to pick with Daniel Mann. He recently did a very good video on one of my favorite fish, and I'd spoken to Tony about it. And it suddenly seems that more and more people recently have been targeting my wrasse. I just want to say this: leave my fucking wrasse alone. I liked them before all of you. They're my fish. Fuck off. I know Sam still won't bother.
No, I know you, mate. They're safe. They're safe around me, mate. Don't worry about that.
It doesn't matter how many times I've said to you they're really nice. You're like, nah, fuck
Yeah.
it. I'm not shooting them.
All the newbies shoot a wrasse to start off with. We'll see what everyone shot. Claire, what have you shot to start? What's your first fish? Have you had one yet?
I was lucky, a pollock. I'm a pollock woman. The pollock come to me. Only
Nice.
small, nothing over 40 yet.
That's
Nice.
good.
You caught anything else?
Bass, a mullet, and a couple of wrasse, a big wrasse.
Nice.
I won't shoot anything like a small wrasse because they're bloody nightmare to clean.
Yeah.
They
Boiling water is your friend. If ever you want to, if you want a really easy way to scale a wrasse, boil the kettle, pour the kettle over the wrasse, literally only for a few seconds, and then you can scrape the scales off with your fingers.
I know, but the scales are like bloody fingernails.
Yeah, you just chew on them.
They're just literally everywhere. It's like
it's fish chewing gum, isn't it? It's fine.
Oh, like it'd be fine. Those scales for days.
Damon, what was your first fish?
My first fish was a wrasse, a Ballon wrasse, which was like 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was, and it was massive. I don't know what it was. I didn't weigh it at the time, but it was ginormous. That was the fish that I shot, thinking this is massive. I can't leave it, and then brought it back, showed it to a friend's uncle, and he was like, "Oh, it's a Ballon wrasse. You can't eat them." So it just went in for, I think it went to a friend's farm, and it got like munched up by all of the cattle and things. I just thought, and then to find out you could eat it was a bit annoying. But the first fish I've shot since being back into it was a flounder.
Nice.
I had a flounder a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, you were definitely diving with Ben when that happened, that's for sure.
No, I wasn't.
Oh,
no.
really?
No, I was down. Where was I to? Oh, I can't say. No, it was down sort of like
South Devon,
Salcombe
yeah.
way. It was just.
I was going to say,
yeah.
don't say anything. Tony will put it in his next book.
Yeah, it'd be in his book.
Any species, Damon, that you want to target in particular?
Well, I've done fishing for years, and I've always like chased bass. I've caught a few decent bass, so to get a bass underwater would be pretty cool. I saw some pollock on the last dive that I went with Ben. It was just awesome to see him underwater. I think I'm still at the point where I'm just enjoying seeing the fish at the minute. But yeah, I think a bass is probably the one thing I want to go for really this year.
Sam, you got any tips for getting a bass?
So, a lot of people obviously they'll lay still, grunt, make a noise, whatever, pull the fish in. With bass, they're my favorite fish to hunt. They're not my favorite fish to eat, but they're my favorite fish to hunt. And going in the kelp, looking through gullies, actively looking for them. The bigger ones always will tend to be in the kelp, or depending what part. If you are diving further up Devon and stuff, then obviously maybe start looking in a few more holes and stuff. But the free swimming ones, your average sort of size ones, but looking in the kelp drifting through gullies and looking in like get right into the kelp and have a look right down deep in it. Look through the kelp, like, and you'll just start seeing blue that will just start drifting in between the little gaps in the kelp and stuff like that. Favorite way that I love to hunt for bass by sure.
Nice.
Cheers.
And Kai, what was your first fish?
I think my first fish was probably a wrasse as well.
Nice.
Or it might have been a bass. I did shoot an undersized bass, which I didn't realise on the undersized until I got it out of the water and realised it was quite small.
That's another thing, I suppose, is that as newbies, again, similar to like fish identification, sizing is a major sort of learning curve. When you shoot your first fish and you go, oh my God, it's a huge, and then you go, there's 27 centimeter pollock. It's not huge, it's tiny.
I was out after scallops last week, and when you see them under the water, they do look quite big, especially when they're in the sand and they just made a mess around themselves. And then when you get them up out of the water, they're passable, but not as big as they look under the water. So it certainly has a magnification effect, right?
You're starting to sound like my missus.
Why is that?
Yeah,
No, just that it looks bigger underwater, and then she cleans up my mess after. I get out of the water, and she's always depressed. Never mind.
You've always got to lower the tone of this podcast, haven't you?
That's why I'm here.
I think it's like 20-25% the magnification can be underwater.
I'm nearly an inch.
Not an innie anymore.
Does it like the Viz affect it? Because I've been in places where I think something's smaller and it's actually much bigger, and like but further away as well, obviously, in good Viz. And obviously, like all of us, we thought it was much bigger and it's actually smaller, close up. I wonder if like Viz plays a...
Yeah, it does. And not having anything as a reference point is another thing as well. I think they call it blue water syndrome, where you're out, and it happens obviously to a lot of the guys that are blue water hunting, and they'll see a fish come in, and they'll be looking at, for argument's sake, let's pick bluefin tuna. They range from 200-300 pound up to over 1,000 pound. And if they've had all these fish swimming around them all day, and then 1,000 pound tuna comes in and it's 7 or 8 meters away, it might look like a 200 pound tuna that's only 2 meters away. And you've got no point of reference, crystal clear Viz. So they take the shot and watch the spear just stop at the end of their shooting line and realize, oh, that was a big fish, but it was out of range. Blue water syndrome, that one is.
Nice.
Hi, you're doing the species hunt this year. What species are you targeting?
I've actually decided, since so far I haven't managed to shoot a single fucking thing, that I'm not going to do it this year. So next year I'll do it. But
it's not too late at all.
I know, yeah, but it involves getting in the water, doesn't it? I've got a couple of species that I would love to get this year. One probably achievable being a triggerfish. I would absolutely love to try some triggerfish. And the second is the gilt, which might be beyond my skill level, but I'll have to find out.
We got the perfect person here, then, haven't we? Go on, Tony, tell us how to get gilt and the trigger.
Well, if I could just refer you to my book. No, sorry.
Right, he's banned. Kick him.
The gilts actually, mate, are surprisingly easy to shoot. Like in the situation where I was hunting them, they were really quite easy to shoot in terms of pulling the trigger on the fish once you found it. The difficulty was in finding the fish and finding the right habitat where they're in a position where they're easy to shoot. I know a lot of people that have targeted them, like Joe PK. I've seen him shoot a couple on video where he will sit and wait on the bottom and hold his breath and wait for a big shoal of bass to come in, and then ignore all the bass and hope that there's a bream at the back of the shoal. And it works. It's an effective way to hunt the bream, but you need a lot of skill to do it. You need to be in the right place. You need to have a really long breath hold, really good technique to not spook the bass in the first place, because otherwise the bream are going to go with it. Whereas if you can find them like I did, sat in 3 feet to 12 feet of water, just resting up in the shallows in the stringweed, then really it's just a case of being quiet, being sneaky. Don't get greedy, because you will see bass and other fish like that in the area, and just you got to ignore them. Because the gilts are a bit spooky. They will clear off if they start hearing guns pinging off all around them. They're not going to hang around. But in terms of actual difficulty to shoot them, finding them's the difficult thing in that situation. Actually shooting them, it's just a case of going really slowly, drifting through the stringweed. Don't let your fins break the surface while you're swimming. Don't splash about. Don't be puffing down your snorkel, blowing water out all the time and sounding like an angry seal. And just sneak through the ground. And if they're there, you'll come across one and you won't even have a clue where you are. You won't know you're there, and just shoot it. If you can get a side-on shot to them, they're kind of sort of dinner plate shapes. They're quite deep from their dorsal to their belly. They're quite a big fish in that sense, so they're easy to aim at. Just be quiet and sneaky. The trick is finding them.
Sam, what about the triggerfish?
Holes. Find yourself some good holes. Obviously you're going to find them predominantly in holes. You might find them swimming around. If good viz, like we've had it a few courses last year, where you're snorkeling on the top and you'll just see them swimming around. They're absolutely stupid fish. They're the most stupidest fish I've ever met. You could, like, honestly, they're just, so we had this one. There was about 5 or 6 of them just swimming around. So showed the client, he went down, shot one, and then he's like, oh, so he's gone back up dealing with that. And I was like, literally 2 minutes later, they all come back to the same place their mate just got shot. And you could just literally just keep plugging them. Like they're honestly, they're so stupid. We had one as well where we were we was on the boat, guy shot one, fully loaded up. I think Matty Spear might have told you in the podcast previous, and the spear got stuck in the hole. So I went down, was trying to get his spear out, and he had the trigger on the spear. And then while I was trying to get it, there's just one coming in front, another one coming again. Literally, I'm like grabbing the gun off the boat, shot one, put it up, and then they're just coming in again. They're so stupid. So once you find a good spot for them, then keep in that area. The males tend to hang outside the holes. Females tend to be in the holes. But if you spook them off, they'll probably come straight back to that same area. And if you see them free swimming, there are holes somewhere around where they are. So if you get good viz days and you find a good place where obviously you can hunt them, figure out where the good ground is. So like Kai, for example, obviously we spoke about that in the foraging courses. Same sort of holes that you'll be looking for lobsters and stuff like that. And they can get even smaller as well. They like to ram themselves into like small cracks and stuff like that. So just get down with your torch, just go swimming and have a look, poke your head in some holes. You might find some lobsters as well in the meantime. But if you can find the good ground for them, just look in holes. But yeah, if you see them, shoot them all, because they die off come the winter time anyway. So yeah, beautiful fish. It's my most favorite eating fish as well in UK waters.
It's chicken of the sea, I heard.
Oh, it's amazing.
So yeah,
it's lush. Yeah.
I say, for again, harking back to the title of the episode for the newbies, if you do manage to shoot a trigger, be careful where you put your fingers, because they are like parrots' beaks but stronger.
You don't stick your fingers where you wouldn't put your toes, right?
Who was it that had a chunk bit out? Was it you, Sam?
No, Davo did, didn't he?
Davo, that was it. Yeah, it was my sugar daddy. He caught a trigger, thought he'd stoned it, because he went absolutely stoned in the water. And stoned, for those of you that don't know, is when you shoot a fish either in the brain or in a specific spot in the spine where the fish just is paralyzed. It's dead. It's done. So he grabbed his spear, went up to the surface, sort of wasn't even looking at the fish. Next thing you know, the fish has slid down his spear, gone towards his finger and taken a chunk through the glove and his finger. And yeah, took a proper chunk out, like a good, I'd say inch out of his finger. So be careful with them.
Nice. So any of you newbies, you got any specific burning questions that you would like to get answered, or any advice that you'd like?
Go with Claire first.
We see a lot on social media, and there's always you always post like your best fish or your biggest fish. How many times do you blank?
Who wants to go first, Tony?
Well, I'll go first. I got 5 kids, so never. Sorry. Tony.
He loves that joke.
It still happens. You still blank. I suppose it depends. The more the more you dive and the more you get accustomed to it and the more you're used to seeing, sometimes, I don't want to say every time, but sometimes you choose to take the blank over taking a fish that maybe you might not particularly value as highly as another one. But we do blank, definitely. Everybody blanks. Anyone that says they don't is full of nonsense. A lot of it depends on where you go. You can go to a proven spot where you know the tide, and once you get used to certain spots, you learn the area, you know when the fish are going to be there and where they're going to be, and you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to get a certain fish. But you get pretty bored pretty quickly if you just dive the same places over and over again. So whenever you're scouting new ground, you've got a very good chance of blanking scouting new ground because you don't know anything about it. Yeah, I don't know how often I blank, but it definitely happens. I don't go short on fish. And yeah, as you say, Ben, the seasons definitely make a difference.
Do you catch many in the winter, Tony? Would you say?
I don't get out as much diving in the winter, just because of the weather and that, obviously. But you can still catch fish. I think in the winter, I don't know, maybe it's just my experience, but in the winter, I think there is more of a skill barrier in the way of catching fish. But once you surpass that sort of barrier, which essentially is to be able to dive to about 14, 15 meters, because a lot of the fish are going to move out into deeper water. There's still mullet around in shallow, but not in as many numbers. But if you can get out and dive 14, 15 meters through the winter, you can get pollock all day long, and some really big pollock. There's some massive pollock hang around in the winter. You've got access to species like cod through the winter. And also, like with Sam with his foraging courses, is a really good example of making the most out of your winter diving, because a lot of the kelp's going to die back, and that exposes areas of the reef that you might not have been able to see, which makes it easier to hole hunt. And then you can go out and forage your lobsters and crabs, and you can get scallops, so you can always get a feed. But yeah, you still blank. Everybody blanks.
Nice.
What about you, Sam? What's your ratio?
Of course. Like, it happens. Like, when in the first stages, I'll say to anyone new, don't get so frustrated about blanking. So, like, I used to get frustrated quite a lot, and I've just recently, in the last year and a half, got into a really good position where Tony's just briefly said, I actively choose to blank. So I could have caught fish, I could have probably, if I said 8 times out of 10, I'd probably catch fish every time I went out. But I choose not to take the fish that I see because it's not what I'm after. It may not be the right size that I want. I've gone I'm targeting species specifically to what I want. Obviously, beginning of the season, I'm going to shoot anything that swims past to begin with, to get me aim back on and everything like that. But as the season goes through, I'll actively choose, and I'm happy. Do you know what I mean? I'll get out the water and I'll be like, oh, didn't get that one that I wanted today, but oh well, I had a good time, I was out, whatever. It's that sort of thing. And like Tony says as well, scouting new ground. You're scouting new ground. Obviously, you're most likely not going to blank. You're most likely going to blank, sorry, because you don't know that area, you don't know it very well. So it depends on the points that you're getting to at the minute. I mean, I'm on a massive target at the minute. I'm looking for turbot, and I'm trying to cover ground and look for ground, and I will actively blank because I'm just specifically going for that species. So I tend to ignore everything else that's around me. So I'm taking a lot of time trying to look for a certain species that I want, and I will blank. But yeah, everyone does, but just don't get frustrated being a newbie. Just treat it like progression. If you're blanking a lot of the time and then you start to be blanking less and less and less, then treat that as a progression in your own self, that you're starting to see things, do things differently. And then you just move up and up and up as you go. But yeah, I'm in a really nice position, just being comfortable to actively choose to, if that makes sense. It's a really nice feeling, to be honest.
Nice.
At risk of being completely flooded with messages, I know a turbot spot, Sam. We'll have to go for a dive. I figured it out not long ago, so we'll have to get down there when the weather's good.
We'll give it a go.
Hi, have you got any burning questions or looking for any advice?
I've been trying to think of one, and I don't know, because I just chat to you guys anyway. So I think most of my questions have been answered, really. Possibly drawing on drawing on previous dives recently, and I think I already know the answer, and it seems to be hydration. But when I'm diving, trying to equalize or whatever, I've got a snotty ass nose, and I assume it's the pressure pushing all the crap out of my nose, and after I get rid of it, then it's okay. But for a little while, I can't really equalize because I can't blow any air out my nose. It's just goggles fill up with snot slush.
Nice.
So I'll chip in on that because I get it similarly. I don't know whether it's the seawater or the pressure changes constantly that's sort of playing with your sinuses and stuff. Just take your goggles off every now and then and hold one side of your nose, blow hard. Obviously, don't do any damage. But hydration is a big thing.
That's what I figured. When it's gone, and I can dive no problem after that. But for a little while there, when I'm not expecting it, I really do have problems equalising.
I don't know what because Ben, you're quite a big advocate for sinus rinsing, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I've got one of those like sinus rinse kits. So you stick some salt in like a tub, you squeeze it at one nostril, and it comes out the other nostril, which sounds gross, and it is gross. But it does kind of like clear it out enough for you to get a dive in, even if you're a little bit bunged up. I mean, like, I think you've got to be careful with it. And but I find if I do it like 2 or 3 days in advance, that's really helped me. And not just with like blocked nose, but like equalization in general, because it's obviously all connected. And I find that like eustachian tubes clear a little bit easier if I've done that beforehand. So yeah, pretty much like every dive, like the 2 nights before, I'll make sure I do 1 or 2 of them, and also drink plenty beforehand. Like you can't just have a liter on the day. That's just not going to work. You have to do it in advance. Monster, yep, great.
I'm drinking red wine. Is that okay?
I learned that through listening to your podcast, actually.
Yeah. Don't listen to anything I say.
You learned what not to do.
Yeah. Listen to me. Do the opposite.
Tony, what are you saying, mate?
What am I saying on the snot situation?
Yeah.
Hydration is obviously one of the key things. You've already covered that. There's an element to the pressure that was touched upon. So as you're descending, the air, all air volumes in your body and your mask is all getting compressed by the water pressure around it. So as the volume of air decreases in your mask, essentially you're creating suction in your mask. Yeah, I'm sure you've noticed it, that the deeper you go, your mask will suck onto your face harder and harder to the point where it feels like your eyeballs are going to pop out, which you should let a little bit of air out your nose every so often just to counteract that, just as a side note. But that suction is basically going to pull shit out your sinuses, all stuff that maybe it's not blocking your airway in the day to day when you're walking around, but it's sat there in your sinuses, in the cavities in your face, and that suction's going to pull it out. So it will come out and into your mask. Just like Anthony says, take your mask off, blow your nose when you come back up to the surface. Try not to let it fill up to eye level, because then you can't see the fish.
One thing I would say, only on the when you get to the surface and you're blowing your nose and stuff, I have heard tips of people saying do a salt rinse with salt water, where you inhale a little bit of salt water through your nose. I can't remember who said it, that they properly believed in it, but if you've ever heard of that, don't do it. It's
the
really
amount
not
of
good
sewage they put in the water down here, mate, I would never do that in a million years.
Damon, what's you got any burning questions or
I don't know about burning questions.
anything you're struggling with?
I get so at the minute, like, I think I'm doing probably somewhere between an hour and a half and 2.5 hours in the water when it's cold at the minute. And as the dive goes on, my mask gets worse for like leaking and stuff. So like, obviously a lot of you guys have got like beards and stuff as well. I normally like shave, the very top of my lip, if you like, top of my tash, if you want. And it's normally pretty good for about half an hour or so. And then it will let a little bit of water in, and I'm having to sort of like, do the dive thing where you let the air in. And then as the dive goes on, it will get to the point where I mean, when we were at our little spot last week, I was getting about probably 2 hours in, and I was diving down to about 5 meters, and I was watching the water just fill my mask up. And obviously then you have to take a hand off of whatever you're holding on to try and get the water out before you can't see, and then you're starting to float, and it's just like, that is the one thing that really pisses me
you
off.
Got the perfect person here to answer your question. Go on, Sam.
Right. Masks is the hardest one for me to answer because I'm very lucky for some reason. Obviously your face is obviously getting cold. So it's getting cold to a point where it'll probably then start leaking in, because for some, like, I've found it through this winter, especially, like when you start trying to talk 2 hours in, your lips, you sound like you're about to have a stroke, and you can't really speak that well. And I noticed that I do get quite a bit of water sometimes come in through my nose when it's quite cold. I tend to just deal with it to a degree, if that makes sense. I've got quite a nice seal around the bridge of my nose where I know it isn't going into my eye area. So I sort of, how I do it is, like, now and again, going back to the sinus thing, I'm always blowing my nose. Every 10 to 15 minutes I'll come up, I'll just keep blowing my nose. So doing that, I'm letting water out, I'm repositioning my mask again. One trick I do find is, if you have got a beard as well, depending on the skirt, obviously you might want to try and shop around for different masks to see if one might fit your face a little bit better. I've had some that fit really well. I've had some that fit okay. I've never had one where I've been like, oh, you know what, I can't wear that at all. But I've found that obviously some fit better than the others. But what I like to do is, like with my lip, pull your top lip down as far as you can, and then push the mask up into the bottom of your nose, so it's in that bit, so the skirt sits in that bit above your tash and between your nose, and then as you let your lip just go relaxed again, it just creates a nice little suction on there. So give that a go. When it starts to do it, if it is getting a bit cold, just pull it, reposition your mask while you're in the water, and go from there. I mean, one thing I've found through doing the courses and just diving with people, I found a lot of people keep taking their masks off, obviously for whatever reason. They'll take it off, put it on their head, do what they're doing, floating around, put it in. Once I get in the water, my mask will not come off my face until I'm back out, and I have minimal issues or anything like that. So if you are someone, or even people that are listening, if they keep taking it off to sort something out or just clear their face or something, that's when obviously, you know, that could even be a reason to play in for why.
I think the only reason I've been doing that recently is it's been fogging up, or it's full of water. You know, normally I can tilt it, you know, do the tilt, and that's fine. But if I come up and it's all fogged up, and it gets to the point that it really starts pissing you off, and you just take it off, put it on your head just for a couple of minutes, just because it's winding you up, you know.
I mean, one thing, if you do take it off, just check that your skirts haven't, so make sure that your mask is tucked back into the skirts of your hood and everything like that. Make sure they're not sticking out, or any little bit of leakage coming in through there or anything. I mean, with the fogging, obviously you've got I've been one of those lucky ones. I buy one and I don't touch it, and it never fogs. I just spit in it, and that's all I do. For some reason, everyone asks me this question, but obviously you can burn it. You can burn the lens. Make sure you've got a glass lens, and put a lighter in it, burn it. Toothpaste, people say potatoes and everything like that. Baby shampoo, rubbing baby shampoo. I had that once where I borrowed someone's mask and it was awful. And I put baby shampoo in it. They said, I'll put some baby shampoo in. I can't remember who it was. And put the baby shampoo in, and it worked. It worked for the whole dive. So baby shampoo is probably the best that I've noticed as well. So obviously, or you can go to the shop and buy anti-fog stuff and everything like that. But try obviously the cheapest, easiest ones first.
As another spearer with a beard, I would suggest a bit of Vaseline on your tash if you don't want to shave it too much. It only lasts for a little bit, so I used to take the Vaseline in the float, and then I'd apply it halfway through my dive, and it does seem to create a seal on your tash. So you just rub the Vaseline to your tash, and it works. It's an old dive method, I believe, but like the scuba's used to do it. But these days I tend to go for the Amish look, as Kai does as well, where we just shave our top tash off completely. But if you don't care about your looks, then that's the way to go.
I also shave sort of around around, because I'm quite hairy anyway, just micro hairs. So I shave down and around, if that makes sense, everywhere that I think the mask's going to contact.
Nice. So
With-
on a little bit on that. So what Rich was saying about the Vaseline, a pointer just for if you are doing that, don't touch the Vaseline and then forget that the finger that you've just touched the Vaseline is also the finger that you're trying to scrub the condensation from the inside of your mask. Because
You've definitely done that, haven't you?
yeah, goodbye fucking Viz. And you try being in the middle of the sea with no form of soap or anything, trying to remove Vaseline from a mask. Second point. So again, I'm not fashionable, just lazy, so I don't shave at all until like once every 6 weeks. And all I do, that's a trick that I don't use Vaseline at all. The same thing goes for defogging your mask. A lot of people, they say the spit in your mask. A little sort of tip that I've been doing: spit your first spit out, use the second spit, which is less and thicker, to use in your defog of mask, and then do the same under your tash. So spit on a couple of fingers, put it in the top of your tash under your nose, and that for me seals it. But the other thing you got to remember from fogging up and condensation in your mask is the moisture in your mask turning into vapor, hitting the cold glass in front of your face from the heat of your face. One of the ways to combat that is, before you put your mask on, stick your face in the water so that it's nice and cold, and then put your mask on. It will heat up, but it will heat up at the same time as the rest of the air in the mask, and it should stop fogging. It's worked for me. It's probably actually bullshit, but
No, it's a fair point.
yeah,
Anti-fog spray. I can't remember what brand it is, but
I've never got well on with any of them.
well, Tony says the same. He says it makes his eyes burn, but I find if you put it on there, rub it around the lens, rinse it out, stick them on, and then for as long as you don't take them off again, at the point that you take them off again, they can start to fog up. But as long as you don't take them off, I've not had any issues with that.
Yeah, but Tony's been spraying that anti-fog spray in his eyes, not in the mask.
Is that not what you're supposed to do?
No, you're meant to spray it in the
I thought
mask.
I was getting cataracts. No, I just burn the inside of the lens, mate. Spit in it, job done.
Yeah,
So,
the old toothpaste.
Lighter, I smoke, so I got a lighter, so that's free. And spit, that's perpetually free. So job done.
Yeah.
nice.
Right. Moving on to last question, just before we start closing up. I just want to go around everybody, because I know that we've had you for an hour and 45 minutes now. So thank you for staying on for so long. But as newbies, we did used to ask this in the podcast: what one piece of kit do you really want? So what would you aspire to have, Claire?
That's a tricky one. What would I aspire to have?
Oh yeah, and the T's and C's of this is you can't say boat.
Maybe a better gun. I think I'd go for it's hard as men, because I don't know if you have the same issues, and it's like, I'm not saying woman or weaker, but so my gun at the moment has got two bands on it, and it's so tricky to load both bands. Sometimes I get to a point where I just load the one band, and because my chest at this point, like, because of the pressure, like constant pushing against it, I've had enough. So I would, if I could find a gun that had the right band, but just one band, and it was a little bit lighter, that would be my like item of choice. But I haven't come across that.
Can I ask quickly, do you know what thickness bands you've got on your gun at the moment?
Oh no, I don't remember.
Do you know what the gun is? You said it's a Rob Allen.
Yeah, it's a Rob Allen snapper, but I asked that they changed them recently. So my old bands had worn out.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, it's better to change them. And I was like, And because they've changed them, they're newer. And now it's really like, it's too hard. I can't put both. Well, I can if I really, really struggle with them.
What size is your gun?
80, 85, I would say.
An
so
80 it'll be.
Not too
so
bad
if
in
they're
reach.
new bands, then new bands are always notoriously difficult to load. If you do a few dives with them and load your gun at the start of the dive, I'm not going to suggest anyone does it out the water, but if you want to risk that, that's up to you. But leave the bands loaded on the gun for a while. Just leave them for an hour or so while you're diving. Leave them loaded on the gun, and it will stretch them out and wear them in surprisingly quickly. And it will continue to get easier and easier to load them for a little while, the more you use them. I'd check that they're 14 mil bands. Do you know what color the rubber is? Is it green or blue?
Not on like not off like
No.
off.
Okay. With Rob Allen guns, the green rubber is 14 mil. The blue rubber is 16. So it will depend if they've used a different kind of rubber that's not Rob Allen, then you'd have to ask them. But check that you've got 14 mil bands. That will make your life easier to load. If there's 16s on there at the moment, then 14s will be much easier to load for you. And if you do want to go down to just a single band, then you can easily do that. Just get a thinner spear to go with it. Most Rob Allen spears are 7 or 7.5 mil spears. So if you go to a single 16 mil band, you probably want to come down to sort of a 6.5 or 6.25 millimeter.
Gosh, it's all like I really struggle.
It sounds
with
technical, but essentially, when you're taking away the power of 2 bands by going to a single band, you're just making your spear a bit lighter, so it hasn't got as much load to push by getting a thinner spear. So you still have the velocity.
The other thing that I'd say is, in going back to what you were saying about the fitment of your wetsuit, is that your wetsuit should have a nice patch on your chest. Now, obviously, if it's quite a unisex or male orientated, not take into account the breasticles, then that patch might not be in the right spot for where you're loading the gun. So it could feel and hurt a lot more. Obviously the ladies' suits are getting better, so the patch should be in a better place. But the other thing that you could do, I'm staring at a Brother sewing machine, again, a hobby that I've taken up that I haven't actually touched. You could sew another patch on the inside of that and just give you a little bit more support where you're placing the gun on your breastplate.
You've never met me. Like I'm more likely to go and hunt and shoot an animal and skin it and eat it than be able to sew.
Well, bring it up to me and I'll sew it. It'll be fine.
Just glue it. Just get
Auntie
some
Anthony.
neoprene and glue it on. You'll be good.
Yeah, I can glue.
Yeah, just again, another patch of neoprene, some 7 mil neoprene in where you're loading on your chest, on your breastplate is, and that will help massively.
That would be really, because it's really like, and I think if I have one band, it's the need to pull that hard twice. Like really like frustrating and tricky.
I think that's a good tip what Tony said. Try and get the spear down to a thinner diameter, so you just need the one band. And then I just use one band for any fish in the UK. It's more than enough. And yeah, it's a good tip what Anthony was saying. Just get an extra piece of neoprene and then just glue it on.
Yeah,
I think that'll sort you out. Kai, what's your one thing that you wish you could have other than Tony's book, because you already bought that?
I've actually bought that twice. I lost it and I had to buy it again, and now I found it, so I have 2 copies of Tony's book. Blue one.
You're a legend.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate. Claire, when you're loading your gun, I've got a problem with my shoulder. I broke my shoulder and I've got metalwork in there, so I sort of place the butt into my hip, into my sort of groiny hippie area, and I pull it that way. I don't know if you could maybe if you find that easier, because I did.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. My partner dies with me all the time, and he's ex-military. So if my gun handling is wrong in any way, so if I use my hip, it'll point in the air.
Yeah, gun safety. Yeah.
So my gun has to be in the water, so I can try, but I just need to point it in.
Yeah, float facing downwards.
Okay, I'll try that this weekend.
It might help. I don't know. Back to your question, Rich. I don't want to say boat. I'm getting one at the end of the month, so I will say your float, not yours personally, but one just like it.
Yeah, kind of mine, mate. I love mine.
Yeah, I'm also getting next month. I'll be getting one of them as well. So that's nice. Me sorted.
Your big, massive orange, fucking small inflatable boat thing.
Hey man, that float's amazing, dude.
It's so huge.
It's awesome.
It needs a 50 horsepower Yamaha 4-stroke on the back
Can
of it.
easily take a 50 Yamaha.
Seems like you can just lay out on it when you've had a bit of enough kicking.
Oh mate, like I tell you what, and like won't go on too long, but for us people that are not very fit, shall we say, that bloody float is a lifesaver, I tell you, because you can paddle right out on it, get on it, paddle right out, and then you go spearfishing and you just kick in. Happy days.
Yeah, my current one's a SEAC one, I think it is.
Yeah.
And it's not an expensive one. I think it's like 50 quid or something. And it just doesn't sort of accommodate my body very well. Like,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's
I'm
just
not a massive guy, but it doesn't come to my belly button when I'm kicking out on it. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've tried one of those before, but then like if you're a bigger lad as well, it sort of sits too far down the wall line, doesn't become sort of, you know, it doesn't stop airstream enough. So when you're kicking, it's got this force against the water, haven't you? So
yeah,
with the Epsilon Patrol, like it just got that front where it just lifts up by the water, and you can just like
You can get your belly on it.
Oh yeah, just my belly.
They got skegs as well, right?
Yeah, they have. Yeah,
yeah, that's got to help as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Damon, what's your one thing?
It's got to be carbon fins. I didn't know anything about them, but when I went in the pool with the Frenchman a little while ago, and he brought some in to play with, and oh man, I put a set on, and it was just game changing. So yeah, I'm just keeping an eye out for some carbon fins now.
They are.
I might be able to make
what
that
size
dream
feet you
come true.
got?
I was going to say.
46, I think, is what I normally 46, 47.
Oh, what's that in English? Do you know?
I have
Yeah,
no
no,
idea. It's
that's-
like 11 and a half, but like
I might
that
have
is-
a
those shoes
set
do that
of
anymore.
old well, I say old, they're only 18 months old. No, not even that, probably a year old. Of hard leader fins.
We're gonna have a bidding war because I got some start point carbons as well.
£5,
in the 10
£50,
to 11 and up.
Yeah, we've got a bloody auction going on there.
Get
But
on.
yeah, there's
We
plenty
get
of
guests on,
options. And they normally are just sat there gathering dust in someone's cupboard. But if Tony doesn't want to sell you them, I'm happy. You know, I've got mine. Then yeah,
Yeah, I'm more than
talk
keen.
about that after.
Oh,
Yeah.
screw it. I'll sell mine too then, shall we? Yeah.
No one's got your little Oompa Loompa feet.
Oh, what are you talking about? I'm using the tarpins at the minute, mate. They are nice. Sam, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, you got the
do
same as mine.
I was using those ones, but I'm using the tarpin kelp ones at the minute.
They're supposed to be really good. I had a client the other day who had a set, and they look nice in hand.
Oh mate, they are really nice to use.
They're affordable. They're affordable though.
Haven't you got the
they're good price.
C4s? So,
I have, yes, yeah.
Oh, they're sexy. I couldn't get them because they didn't have my foot size, and so I had to go for the tarpons. But I love the tarpons. But
How big are your feet?
Well, I'm size 13 UK, but it's really weird. In the leader fins, I was 46, but then I went to the C400 pockets and I'm now in a 44. So
Okay.
like
It's
size
size
10.
13s. You don't need
Because
fins.
the weird thing is with mine. So they're the 200 foot pockets, and I'm in a 9.5, but I'm actually a 10.5 foot.
Yeah,
They figure that they fit, but they fit nicely. Do you know what I mean? They're not tight. I can't wear 5mm socks, so I've been in 2mm over the whole of the winter.
Yeah,
But they're nice. Do you know what I mean? So if I did need to wear a 5mm, I'd have to go up a foot pocket size. But so maybe, because I know that obviously some foot pockets don't accommodate for the bigger feet, do they? I've seen that question being banged around Facebook quite a bit recently for the people that are size 13s and stuff.
yeah.
Maybe look into it though.
Right. Well, we'll let you all go because we've had you on quite a while, and we really appreciate everyone coming on. And we hope we've answered a few questions for everyone out there listening.
Just quickly before everybody goes.
Oh, hang on.
I'm trying to decide whose inbox to fill up. Really.
Dear, honestly, this guy.
I know. I'm going to give away.
No. You are not.
Wait, this is free stuff. That's my favorite kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Go on, Tony.
So
if he
I'm
says
gonna give
anything about
away-
fucking books,
I'm going to give away 2 copies of a paperback article that's been written, 151 pages long. No, it's my book. Sorry, Anthony. Yeah, so 2 copies of my book. I'm going to give it away. It's just as a thank you, guys, for having us on the podcast, and as a thank you for listening, for all the listeners. So, Anthony, your inbox isn't full enough, is it? So
No.
just send a direct message to the Spiro Hangout on Instagram, and we'll leave it open for a week after the podcast airs.
Yeah.
And then we'll put
that's
all the
good.
names into a hat. We'll draw a couple of random names, and we'll get a couple of the copies of the book sent out.
Sweet. Happy
That'd
days.
be great. Thanks for that.
Awesome, dude. Nice one. Thank you very much, guys.
And hang on,
ladies.
hang on.
What?
Sam's got to do a giveaway on his book.
Well, Tony's already done it, mate. I don't know if you've heard. But
No, I thought you went to the Harvester the other day and they gave you crayons. I thought you were going to write a book.
It's a very, very bad one, mate. I couldn't. Fair play to Tony. I couldn't. I'm not the greatest at writing books and stuff like that, mate. But no, fair play to him. But yeah, no book from me.
Well,
I still haven't
practice,
received my
mate.
copy yet, Tony.
I know it's here.
Yeah.
I'm about to give it to one of your listeners.
Yeah, he's giving it
away. After we bigged it up, bless him.
No,
thank
I've
you.
got a whole box full sat here that I'm being really lazy on sending out, and I'm really sorry to everybody I've promised a book that I'm going to send one to. It
Stop
will
going bloody
arrive.
spearfishing and send them out.
Well, yeah, but I got to order enough stuff off Amazon so I don't have to pay for envelopes. I can just have envelopes to reuse.
All the free cardboard. Touche. Well, thank you very much for coming on, everybody.
Yeah,
thank you,
cheers,
Claire.
guys.
Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Damon. Sam and Tony, you've been amazing as always. Thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing some viz, some summer weather, and see you out there when we're spearfishing. Again, you guys as beginners, if you need any help, there is a massive community out there for support. You're welcome to message us. Obviously, I think most of you are part of clubs anyway, so utilize that. And if you're not part of clubs, become part of them, or message people that are part of them, and they'll tell you about all the positives. So yeah, thanks
I'll
for coming
always
on.
go for a dive with you guys. But yeah, thank you very much for having me
I'm only
on, guys.
diving with you if you bring a book.
Yeah, that saves me posting it.
Cool. Catch you later, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
That was like you said at the beginning, that was action packed. Christ, loads of information there.
Yeah, no, that was cool, man. It's podcasts like that I wish I listened to when I started,
Yeah,
because it's just the stupid little things that you actually wish that you knew, if that makes sense.
I learned something tonight as well, like with the mask, like pushing it up under your nose. I'd never really thought about doing that. So hopefully there's something for everybody in there.
and leaving spit all over your face.
Yeah, and that, mate, and that.
You're gonna spit
I
all
was
over your
wondering-
face.
I
If you
was
don't, I will.
wondering where you were going with that, to be fair, because with your track record, anything could have come out of your mouth.
I'm trying to be PC. I'm trying. I promise. So what we got coming up?
Well, you're off on holiday for a bit, aren't you?
Oh yes, I'm going to Tenerife. Yeah.
Although you'll be back by the time we've done this. What are you taking your gun and your gear? What are you doing?
Yes. So I'm taking my golf bag.
Davo's golf bag.
sorry. Yeah. Davo's golf's carrying bag, because supposedly they're easier to get less checked and stuff on the flights. So yeah, taking that
Cool.
and taking a 75. Going to try and figure out my 90 roller before I leave.
Yeah.
My 85 roller, whatever it is. And yeah, I googled earlier on the sea temperature out there at the moment. It's about 21.9, 22 degrees.
I'll do.
Nice.
I've only got a 7 mil.
You'll be
So-
all right.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
I'm going to come back and I'm going to be 20 kilos lighter. So I might cook myself as opposed to any fish, but never mind.
Oh, that'd be epic though. Are you got any like particular targets, or are you just whatever you see?
Just to get out, really.
Yeah.
The last time that I went there, we're staying. So I went there, as I've said in the podcast before, I went to Tenerife for my freediving course with Go Freediving and Emma Farrell. And went into Tobago last time,
Yeah.
which is the south northy part of the island, and so this time we're staying in the north. But I've rented a car, and so we'll go drive around and go and have a look at all the other spearfishing zones. Because last time I didn't take a gun because I was completely new. So yeah, it would be different to go out there this time with a bit more experience and some knowledge.
Poor Rachel, man, she's got to deal with that pissy smell, like 7 mil wetsuit in 22-degree water.
Well, that is the only reason she's coming, because I need someone to wash the suit. No, I'm joking, Rachel.
That
Love
is
you.
going to smell amazing.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be just pure alcohol. It'll be fine.
Pure alcohol. Oh, I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to get out soon. Hopefully this weather breaks, and yeah, we'll kick the season off properly, shall we say.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not around at the weekend, and
No, I've got the kids this weekend,
Yeah.
and then obviously I'm going away.
off. Yeah, cool.
So yeah, I am flat out all weekend.
We'll have a lovely time.
Think of it in March.
We'll send you some pictures of all the fish we catch this weekend.
Yeah, I bet. I bet you the weather will be perfect here, and it'll be raining in Tenerife. It's just my luck.
I hope so. I hope it's nice here. Not that it's raining in Tenerife. I just hope it's nice here.
In other news, the and I know that it isn't related, but the BSA is doing really, really well. It's I think it's 180 odd members so far. And we've got the new Welsh club that I think we've spoken about before in the past, but the new South West Wales Spearfishing Club has overtaken everybody in the other clubs in membership.
Wow.
So, and some of the photos I've seen coming out of those guys now that I've got them friends on Facebook, their fishing land or their coastline is stunning. So I'm really looking forward to get out to Wales this year.
We need to do some longer
Yeah, that'd be
trips, don't
cool.
we?
Yeah, definitely. Sweet.
Cool. Right. Who's editing this one? I'll do it on the plane.
You. On the
Yay.
plane.
Nice
No,
long one.
I'll jump on it. Well, anyway, lads, we'll get out the weekend and be good to see you guys. And yeah, we'll get some cool episodes out now with summer's properly kicking off.
Yeah,
that'd be
looking
good.
forward to it, mate.
Awesome.
Cool.
Good to see you again, boys.
Cheers,
Andrew.
guys. Catch you later.